I'm up to page 17 of this book called The MasterKey System, written by Charles F.Haanel. It was written in the beginning of the 20th century. It's a book about the law of attraction, how it works, how to master it. I'm up to page 70, which is part 7. This part tells of a method by which you may construct the mold or model from which your future will emerge. It tells how you may make it grand and beautiful. It explains that you are not limited as to cost or material, that no one can place any limitation on it but yourself. It explains that in the construction of this model, there is much work to be done, that no one can do the work but yourself, but it tells you what to do and how to do it. It suggests methods and plans which, if faithfully and persistently carried out, will result in conditions exactly in accordance with the purpose and thought. It tells of millions of faithful helpers which will come to your aid if you are faithful in your work. And it tells why some who are apparently faithfully endeavoring to realize their ideals seem to fail. It is sometimes just as important to know that it is sometimes just as important to know what not to do as what to do. Through all the ages, man has believed in an invisible power through which and by which all things have been created and are continually being recreated. We may personalize this power and call it God, or we may think of it as the essence of spirit which permeates all things. But in either case, the effect is the same. So far as the individual is concerned, the objective, the physical, the visible, is the personal, that which can be cognized by the senses. It consists of a body, brain, and nerves. The subjective is the spiritual, the invisible, the impersonal. The personal is conscious because it is a personal entity, the impersonal being the same in kind and quality as all other. Being is not conscious of itself and has therefore been termed the subconscious. The personal or conscious has the power of will and choice and can therefore exercise discrimination and selection of methods whereby to bring about the solution of difficulties. The impersonal or spiritual being, a part of or one with the source and origin of all power, can necessarily exercise no such choice, but on the contrary, it has infinite resources at its command. It can and does bring about results by methods of which the human or individual mind can have no possible conception. You will therefore see that it is your privilege to depend upon the human will with all its limitations and misconceptions, or you may utilize the potentialities of infinity by making use of the subconscious mind. Here then is a scientific explanation of the wonderful power which has been put within your control, if you would understand, appreciate, and recognize it. One method of consciously utilizing this omnipotent power is outlined in part 7. Number 1, visualization is the process of making mental images, and the image is the mold or model which will serve as a pattern from which your future will emerge. Number 2, make the pattern clear and make it beautiful. Do not be afraid. Make it grand. Remember that no limitation can be placed upon you by anyone but yourself. You are not limited as to cost or material. Draw on the infinite for your supply. Construct it in your imagination. It will have to be there before it will ever appear anywhere else. Make the image clear and clean cut. Hold it firmly in the mind, and you will gradually and constantly bring the thing nearer to you. You can be what you will to be. Number 4. This is another psychological fact which is well known. But unfortunately, reading about it will not bring about any result which you may have in mind. It will not even help you to form the mental image, much less bring it into manifestation. Work is necessary. Labor hard mental labor, the kind of effort which so few are willing to put forth. Number 5. The first step is idealization. It is likewise the most important step because it is a plan on which you are going to build. It must be solid. It must be permanent. The architect, when he plans a grand building, has every line and detail pictured in advance. The engineer, when he spans a chasm, first ascertains the strength requirements of 1,000,000 separate parts. Number 6, they see the end before a single step is taken. So you ought to picture in your mind what you want. You are sowing the seed, but before sowing any seed, you want to know what the harvest is to be. This idealization, if you are not sure, return to the chair daily until the picture becomes plain. It will gradually unfold. First, the general plan will be dim, but it will take shape. The outline will take form. Then the details, and you will gradually develop the power by which you will be able to formulate plans which will eventually materialize in the objective world. You will come to know what the future holds for you. Number 7. Then comes the process of visualization. You must see the picture more and more complete, see the details, and as the details begin to unfold, the ways and means of bringing it into manifestation will develop. One thing will lead to another. Thought will lead to action. Action will develop methods. Methods will develop friends, and friends will bring about circumstances. And finally, the third step, or materialization, will have been accomplished. Number 8. We all recognize that the universe must have been thought into shape before it ever could have become a material fact. And if we are willing to follow along the lines of the great architect of the universe, we shall find our thoughts taking form just as the universe took concrete form. It is the same mind operating through the individual. There is no difference in kind or quality. The only difference is one of degree. Number 9. The architect visualizes his building. He sees it as he wishes it to be. His thought becomes a plastic mold from which the building will eventually emerge. A high one or a low one, a beautiful one or a plain one. His vision takes form on paper, and eventually the necessary material is utilized and the building stands complete. Number 10. The inventor visualizes his idea in exactly the same manner. For instance, Nikola Tesla, he with the giant intellect, one of the greatest inventors of all ages, the man who has brought forth the most amazing realities, always visualizes his inventions before attempting to work them out. He does not rush to embody them in form and then spend his time in correction defects. Having first built up the idea in his imagination, he holds it there as a mental picture to be reconstructed and improved by his thought. In this way, he writes in the Electrical Experimenter, "I am unable to rapidly develop and perfect a conception without touching anything. When I have gone so far as to embody in the invention every possible improvement I can think of and see no fault anywhere, I put into concrete form the product of my brain. Invariably, my device works as I conceived it should. In 20 years, there has not been a single exception." Number 11. You can consciously follow these directions. You will develop faith, the kind of faith that is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You will develop confidence, the kind of confidence that leads to endurance and courage. You will develop power of concentration, which will enable you to exclude all thoughts except the ones which are associated with your purpose. Number 12. The law is that thought will manifest in form, and only one who knows how to be the divine thinker of his own thoughts can ever take a master's place and speak with authority. Number 12. Clearness and accuracy are obtained only by repeatedly having the image in mind. Each repeated action renders the image more clear and accurate than the preceding. And in proportion to the clearness and accuracy of the image will the outward manifestation be. You must build it firmly and securely in your mental world, the world within, before it can take form in the world without. And you can build nothing of value even in the mental world, unless you have the proper material. When you have the material, you can build anything you wish, but make sure of your material. You cannot make broadcloth from shoddy. Number 14. This material will be brought out by millions of silent mental workers and fashioned into the form of the image which you have in mind. Number 15. Think of it. You have over 5 million of these mental workers ready and in active use. Brain cells they are called. Besides this, there is another reserve power of at least an equal number, ready to be called into action at the slightest need. Your power to think, then, is almost unlimited. And this means that your power to create the kind of material which is necessary to build for yourself any kind of environment which you desire is practically unlimited. Number 16. In addition to these millions of mental workers, you have billions of mental workers in the body, every one of which is endowed with sufficient intelligence to understand and act upon any message or suggestion given. These cells are all busy creating and recreating the body, but in addition to this, they are endowed with a psychic activity whereby they can attract to themselves the substance necessary for perfect development. Number 17. They do this by the same law and in the same manner that every form of life attracts to itself the necessary material for growth. The oak, the rose, the lily all require certain material for their most perfect expression, and they secure by silent demand. The law of attraction is a certain way for you to secure what you require for your most complete development. Number 17. They do this by the same law and the same manner that every form of life attracts to itself the necessary material for growth. The oak, the rose, the lily all require certain material for their most perfect expression, and they secure it by silent demand. The law of attraction is a certain way for you to secure what you require for your most complete development. Number 18. Make the mental image, make it clear, distinct, perfect. Hold it firmly. The ways and means will develop. Supply will follow demand. You will be led to the right thing and the right time, at the right time, and in the right way. Earnest desire will bring about confident expectation, and this in turn must be reinforced by firm demand. These three cannot fail to bring about attainment, because the earnest desire is feeling, the confident expectation is the thought, and the firm demand is the will. And as we have seen, the feeling given vitality to thought and the will holds it steadily until the law of growth brings it into manifestation. Number 19. It is not wonderful, is it not wonderful that man has such tremendous power within himself, such transcendental faculties, of which he has had no conception? Is it not strange that we have always been taught to look for strength and power without? We have been taught to look everywhere but within. And whenever this power manifested in our lives, we were told that it was something supernatural. Number 20. There are many who have come to an understanding of this wonderful power, and who make serious and conscientious efforts to realize health, power, and other conditions, and seem to fail. They do not seem able to bring the law into operation. The difficulty in nearly every case is that they are dealing with externals. They want money, power, health, and abundance, but they fail to realize that these are effects and can come only when the cause is found. Number 21. Those who will give no attention to the world without will seek only to ascertain the truth, will look only for wisdom, will find that this wisdom will unfold and disclose the source of all power, that it will manifest in thought and purpose, which will create the external conditions desired. The truth will find expression in noble purpose and courageous action. Number 22. Create ideas only. Give no thought to external conditions. Make the world within beautiful and opulent, and the world without will express and manifest the condition which you have made within. You will come into a realization of your power to create ideals, and these ideals will be projected into the world of effect. Number 23. For instance, a man is in debt. He will be continually thinking about the debt, concentrating on it. And as thoughts are causes, the result is that he not only fastens the debt closer to him, but actually creates more debt. He's putting the great law of attraction into operation with the usual and inevitable result. Loss leads to greater loss. Number 24. Number 24. What then is the correct principle? Concentrate on the things you want, not on the things you do not want. Think of abundance. Idealize the methods and plans for putting the law of abundance into operation. Visualize the condition which the law of abundance creates. This will result in manifestation. Number 25. If the law operates perfectly to bring about poverty, lack, and every form of limitation for those who are continually entertaining thoughts of lack and fear, it will operate with the same certainty to bring about conditions of abundance and opulence for those who entertain thoughts of courage and power. 26. This is a difficult problem for many. We are too anxious. We manifest anxiety, fear, distress. We want to do something. We want to help. We are like a child who has just planted a seed and every 15 minutes goes out and stirs up the earth to see if it is growing. Of course, under such circumstances, the seed will never germinate. And yet, this is exactly what many of us do in the mental world. Number 27. We must plant the seed and leave it undisturbed. This does not mean that we are to sit down and do nothing. By no means. We will do more and better work than we have ever done before. New channels will constantly be provided. New doors will operate. New doors will open. All that is necessary is to have an open mind. Be ready to act when the time comes. Number 28. Thought force is the most powerful means of obtaining knowledge, and if concentrated on any subject, will solve the problem. Nothing is beyond the power of human comprehension, but in order to harness thought force and make it do your bidding, work is required. Number 29. Remember that thought is the fire that creates the stem that turns the wheel of fortune, upon which your experiences depend. Number 30. Ask yourself a few questions and then reverently await the response. Do you not now and then feel the whole self within you? Do you assert the self or do you follow the majority? Remember that majorities are always led, they never lead. It was the majority that fought tooth and nail against the steam engine, the power loom, and every other advance of improvement ever suggested. Number 31. For your next exercise, visualize your friend. See him exactly as you last saw him. See the room, the furniture, recall the conversation. Now see his face, see it distinctly. Now talk to him about some subject of mutual interest. See his expression. Change. Watch him smile. Can you do this? All right, you can. Then arouse his interest. Tell him a story of adventure. See his eyes light up with the spirit of fun or excitement. Can you do all of this? If so, your imagination is good. You are making excellent progress. Part 7. What is Part 7. Number 61. What is visualization? The process of making mental pictures. 62. What is the result of this method of thought. By holding the image or picture in mind, we can gradually but surely bring the thing nearer to us. We can be what we will to be. Number 63. What is idealization? It is a process of visualizing or idealizing the plans which will eventually materialize in our objective world. Number 64. Why are clearness and accuracy necessary? Answer. Because seeing creates feeling, and feeling creates being. First the mental, then the emotional, then the illimitable possibilities of achievement. 65. How are they obtained? Each repeated action renders the image more accurate than the former one. Number 66. How is the material for the construction of your mental image secured? Answer. By millions of mental workers, brain cells they are called. Number 67. How are the necessary conditions for bringing about the materialization of your ideal in the objective world secured? Answer. By the law of attraction, the natural law by which all conditions and experiences are brought about. Number 68. What 3 steps are necessary in order to bring this law into operation? Answer. Earnest desire, confident expectation, firm demand. 69. Why do many fail? Answer. Because they concentrate on loss, disease, and disaster. The laws operating perfectly. The things they fear are coming upon them. Number 70. What is the alternative? Concentrate on the ideals which you desire to see manifested in your life. Man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought in shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 8,000 ills. He thinks in secret and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. James Allen. Part 8, page 78. This part tells of the creative principle of the universe, what it is, how it takes form, and how it is brought into manifestation. The principle, being the underlying principle of all existence, must necessarily be governed by an immutable law. It tells how the character, health, and circumstances of the individual are formed, and suggests methods whereby desirable conditions and circumstances may be created. It tells how and why and when the material from which your future is to emerge is secured. It suggests methods of exercises by which you may secure complete control of the power which governs in this mighty field of action. Mighty because it is the most important work which any individual can undertake. We are making our future now, today. When it comes, we shall have to accept what is given. It will be too large to change it, but we can dominate it, control it, make it what we want it to be. And this part explains how. In this part, you will find that you may freely choose what you think, but the result of your thought is governed by an immutable law. Is not this a wonderful thought? Is it not wonderful to know that our lives are not subject to caprice or variability of any kind? That they are governed by law? This stability is our opportunity, because by complying with the law, we can secure the desired effect with invariable precision. It is the law which makes the universe one grand paean of harmony. If it were not for law, the universe would be a chaos instead of a cosmos. Here then is a secret of origin of both good and evil. This is all the good and evil there ever was or ever will be. Let me illustrate. Thought results in action. If your thought is constructive and harmonious, the result will be good. If your thought is destructive or inharmonious, the result will be evil. There is therefore but one law, one principle, one cause, one source of power, and good and evil are simply words which have been coined to indicate the result of your action, or our compliance or non-compliance with this law. The importance of this is well illustrated in the lives of Emerson and Carlyle. Emerson loved the good, and his life was a symphony of peace and harmony. Carlyle hated the bad, and his life was a record of perpetual discord and disharmony. Here we have two grand men, each intent upon achieving the same ideal, but one makes use of constructive thought and is therefore in harmony with natural law. The other makes use of destructive thought and therefore brings upon himself discord of every kind and character. It is evident, therefore, that we are to hate nothing, not even the bad, because hatred is destructive, and we shall soon find that by entertaining destructive thought, we are sowing the wind, and shall reap the whirlwind. Number 1. Thought contains a vital principle because it is the creative principle of the universe, and by its nature will combine with other similar thoughts. As the one purpose of life is growth, all principles underlying existence must contribute to give it effect. Thought, therefore, takes form, and the law of growth eventually brings it into manifestation. Number 3. You may freely choose what you think, but the result of your thought is governed by an immutable law. Any line of thought persisted and cannot fail to produce its result in the character, health, and circumstances of the individual. Methods whereby we can substitute habits of constructive thinking for those which we have found produce only undesirable effects are therefore of primitive importance. 4. We all know that this is by no means easy. Mental habits are difficult to control, but it can be done. And the way to do it is to begin at once to substitute constructive thought for destructive thought. From the habit of analyzing every thought, it is necessary, if its manifestation in the objective will be a benefit not only to yourself, but to all whom it may affect in any way. Keep it, treasure it. It is of value. It is in tune with the infinite. It will grow and develop and produce fruit 100-fold. On the other hand, it will be well for you to keep this quotation from George Matthews Adams in mind. Learn to keep the doors shut. Keep out of your mind, out of your office, and out of your world every element that seeks admittance with no definite, helpful end in view. Number 5. If your thought has been critical or destructive and has resulted in any condition of discord or disharmony in your environment, it may be necessary for you to cultivate a mental attitude which will be conducive to constructive thought. Number 6. The imagination will be found to be a great assistance in this direction. The cultivation of the imagination leads to the development of the ideal out of which your future will emerge. Number 7. The imagination gathers up the material by which the mind weaves the fabric in which your future is to be clothed. Number 8. Imagination is the light by which we can penetrate new worlds of thought and experience. Number 9. Imagination is the mighty instrument by which every discoverer, every inventor opened the way from precedent to experience. Precedent said, it cannot be done. Experience said, it is done. 10. Imagination is a plastic power molding the things of sense into new forms and ideals. Number 11. Imagination is the constructive form of thought which must precede every constructive form of action. Number 12. A builder cannot build a structure of any kind until he has first received the plans from the architect, and the architect must get them from his imagination. Number 13. The captain of industry cannot build a giant corporation which may coordinate hundreds of smaller firms and thousands of employees and utilize millions of capital until he has first created the entire work in his imagination. Objects in the material world are as clay in the potter's hand. It is in the master's hand that real things are created, and it is by the use of the imagination that the work is done. In order to cultivate the imagination, it must be exercised. Exercise is necessary to cultivate mental muscle as well as physical muscle, and must be supplied with nourishment, or it cannot grow. Do not confuse imagination with fancy or that form of daydreaming, in which some people like to indulge. Daydreaming is a form of mental dissipation, which may lead to mental disaster. Number 15, constructive imagination means mental labor, by some considered to be the hardest kind of labor, but if so, it yields the greatest returns. For all the great things in life have come to men and women who had the capacity to think, to imagine, and to make their dreams come true. Number 16. When you have become thoroughly conscious of the fact that mind is the only creative principle, that is omnipotent. That it is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, and that you can consciously come into harmony with his omnipotence through the power of thought, you will have taken a long step in the right direction. Number 17. The next step is to place yourself in position to receive this power. As it is omnipresent, it must be within you. We know that this is so because we know that all power is from within, but it must be developed, unfolded, cultivated. In order to do this, we must be receptive, and this receptivity is acquired just as physical strength is gained by exercise. Number 18. The law of attraction will certainly and unerringly bring to you the conditions, environment, and experience in life corresponding with your habitual characteristic, predominant mental attitude. Not what you think once in a while when you are in church or have just read a good book, but your predominant mental attitude is what counts. Number 19. You cannot entertain weak, harmful, negative thoughts 10 hours a day and expect to bring about beautiful, strong, and harmonious conditions by 10 minutes of strong, positive, creative thought. Real power comes from within. All power that anybody can possibly use is within man, only waiting to be brought into visibility by his first recognizing it and then affirming it as his, working it into his consciousness until he becomes one with it. People say that they desire abundant life, and so they do, but so many interpret this to mean that if they will exercise their muscles or breathe scientifically, eat certain foods in certain ways, drink so many glasses of water every day, or just a certain temperature, keep out of droughts, they will attain the abundant life they seek. The result of such methods is but indifferent. However, when man awakens to the truth and affirms his oneness with all life, he finds that he takes on the clear eye, the elastic step, the vigor of youth. He finds that he has discovered the source of all power. Number 22. All mistakes are but the mistakes of ignorance. Gaining knowledge and consequently power is what determines growth and evolution. The recognition and demonstration of knowledge is what constitutes power. And this power is spiritual power. And this spiritual power is the power which lies at the heart of all things. It is the source of the universe, is the soul of the universe. Number 23. This knowledge is a result of man's ability to think. Thought is therefore the germ of man's conscious evolution. When man ceases to advance in his thoughts and ideals, his forces immediately begin to disintegrate, and this countenance gradually registers these changing conditions. Number 24. Successful men make it their business to hold ideals for the conditions which they wish to realize. They constantly hold in mind the next step necessary to the ideal for which they are striving. Thoughts are the materials with which they build an imagination that is their mental workshop. Mind is the ever-moving force with which they secure the persons and circumstances necessary to build their success, structure, and imagination is the matrix in which all great things are fashioned. Number 25. If you have been faithful to your ideal, you will hear the call when circumstances are ready to materialize. Your plans and results will correspond in exact ratio of your fidelity to your ideal. The ideal steadily held is what predetermines and attracts the necessary conditions for its fulfillment. Number 26. It is thus that you may weave a garment of spirit and power into the web of your entire existence. It is thus that you may lead a charmed life and be forever protected from all harm. It is thus that you may become a positive force whereby conditions of opulence and harmony may be attracted to you. Number 27. This is the leaven which is gradually permeating the general consciousness and is largely responsible for the conditions of unrest which are everywhere evident. Number 28. In your last exercise, you created a mental image. You brought it from the invisible into the visible. Now I want you to take an object and follow it into origination. See of what it really consists. If you do this, you will develop imagination, insight, perception, and sagacity. These come not by the superficial observation of the multitude, but by a keen analytical observation which sees below the surface. Number 29. It is the few who know that the things which they see are only effects and understand the causes by which these effects were brought into existence. Number 30. Take the same position as heretofore and visualize a battleship. See the grim monster floating on the surface of the water. There appears to be no life anywhere about. All is silence. You know that by far the largest part of the vessel is underwater, out of sight. You know that the ship is as large and as heavy as a 20-story skyscraper or the National Gallery. Do you know that there are hundreds of men ready to spring to their appointed task instantly? You know that every department is in charge of able, trained, skilled officers who have proved themselves competent to take charge of this marvelous piece of mechanism. You know that although it lies apparently oblivious to everything else, it has eyes which see everything for miles around, and nothing is permitted to escape its watchful vision. You know that while it appears quiet, submissive, and innocent, it is prepared to hurl a steel projectile weighing thousands of pounds at an enemy many miles away. This and much more you can bring to mind with comparatively no effort whatever. But how did the battleship come to be where it is? How did it come into existence in the first place? All of this you want to know if you are a careful observer. Number 31. Follow the great steel plates through the foundries. See the thousands of men employed in their production. Go still further back and see the ore as it comes from the mine. See it loaded on barges or trucks. See it melted and properly treated. Go back still further and see the architect and engineers who planned the vessel. Let the thought carry you back still further in order to determine why they planned the vessel. You will see that you are now so far back that the vessel is something intangible. It no longer exists. It is now only a thought existing in the brain of the architect. But from where did the order come to plan the vessel? Probably from the Secretary of War or the First Lord of the Admiralty. Probably this vessel was planned long before war was thought of. The Parliament of Congress had to pass a bill appropriating the money. Possibly there was opposition and speeches for or against the bill. Whom do these members of Parliament or these congressmen represent? They represent you and me. So that our line of thought begins with the battleship and ends with ourselves. And we find in the last analysis that our own thought is responsible for this and many other things, of which we seldom think. And a little further reflection will develop the most important fact of all, and that is, if someone has not discovered the law by which this tremendous mass of steel and iron could be made to float upon the water instead of immediately going to the bottom, the battleship could not have come into existence at all. This law is that the specific gravity of any substance is the weight of any volume of it, compared with an equal volume of water. The discovery of this law revolutionized every kind of ocean travel, commerce, and warfare, and made the existence of the battleship possible. Number 33. You will find exercises of this kind invaluable. When the thought has been trained to look below the surface, everything takes on a different appearance. The insignificant becomes significant. The uninteresting, interesting. The things which we supposed to be of no importance are seen to be the only real vital things in existence. Part 8. Number 71. What is the imagination? A form of constructive thought, the light by which we penetrate new worlds of thought and experience. The mighty instrument by which every inventor or discoverer opened the way from precedent to experience. Number 72. What is the result of cultivating the imagination? The cultivation of the imagination leads to the development of the ideal out of which your future will emerge. Number 73. How may it be cultivated? Answer: by exercise. It must be supplied with nourishment or it cannot live. Number 74. How does the imagination differ from daydreaming? Daydreaming is a form of mental dissipation, while imagination is a form of constructive thought which must precede every constructive action. Number 75. What are mistakes? The result of ignorance. Number 76. What is knowledge? The result of a man's ability to think. Number 77. What is the power with which successful men build? Answer: mind is the ever-moving force with which they secure the persons and circumstances necessary to complete their plans. Number 78. What predetermines the result? Answer: the ideal held steadily in mind attracts the necessary conditions for its fulfillment. Number 79. What is the result of a keen analytical observation? The development of imagination, insight, perception, and sagacity. Number 80. To what do these lead? Answer: opulence and harmony. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day, from the Sanskrit. Page 86, Part 9. This part tells of the fundamental principle, the imperative condition, the immutable law, underlying every successful business relation or social condition. It tells of the law by which you may make yourself irresistible, by which you may sweep away every form of discord, disharmony, and doubt. It tells the secret of the solution to every problem. It explains that there are only 3 things which all mankind requires for complete happiness and development. It tells what they are and how they may be had. In this part, you may learn to fashion the tools by which you may build for yourself any condition you desire. If you wish to change conditions, you must change yourself. Your whims, your wishes, your fancies, your ambitions may be thwarted at every step, but your innermost thoughts will find expression just as certainly as the plant springs from the seed. Suppose then we desire to change conditions. How are we to bring this about? The reply is simple: by the law of growth. Cause and effect are as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of material things. Hold in mind the condition desired. Affirm it as an already existing fact. The indication, the value of a powerful affirmation, by constant repetition, it becomes a part of ourselves. We are actually changing ourselves. We are making ourselves what we want to be. Character is not a thing of chance, but it is the result of continued effort. If you are timid, vacillating, self-conscious, or if you are ever anxious or harassed by thoughts of fear or impending danger, remember that it is axiomatic that two things cannot exist in the same place at the same time. Exactly the same thing is true in the mental and spiritual world. So that your remedy is plainly to substitute thoughts of courage, power, self-reliance, and confidence for those of fear, lack, and limitation. The easiest and most natural way to do this is to select an affirmation which seems to fit your particular case. The positive thought will destroy the negative as certainly as light destroys darkness, and the results will be just as effectual. Act is the blossom of thought, and conditions are the result of action, so that you constantly have in your possession the tools by which you will certainly and inevitably make or unmake yourself, and joy or suffering will be the reward. Number 1, there are only 3 things which can possibly be desired in the world without, and each of them can be found in the world within. The secret of finding them is simply to apply the power, the secret of finding them is simply to apply the proper mechanism of attachment to the omnipotent power to which each individual has access. Number 2, the 3 things which all mankind desires and which are necessary for its higher expression and complete development are health, wealth, and love. All will admit that health is absolutely essential. No one can be happy if the physical body is in pain. All will not so readily admit that wealth is necessary, but all must admit that a sufficient supply at least is necessary. And what would be considered sufficient for one would be considered absolute and painful lack for another. And as nature provides not only enough, but abundantly, wastefully, lavishly, we realize that any lack or limitation is only the limitation which has been made by an artificial method of distribution. Number 3, all will probably admit that love is the third, or some will say the first essential necessary to the happiness of mankind. At any rate, those who possess all three, health, wealth, and love, find nothing else which can be added to their cup of happiness. Number 4, we have found that the universal substance is all health, all substance, and all love, and that the mechanism of attachment whereby we can consciously connect with this infinite supply is in our method of thinking. To think correctly is therefore to enter into the secret place of the Most High. Number 5, what shall we think? If we know this, we shall have found the proper mechanism of attachment which will relate us to whatsoever things we desire. The mechanism may seem very simple when I give it to you, but read on. You will find that it is in reality the MasterKey, the Aladdin's lamp. If you please, you will find that it is in the foundation, the imperative condition, the absolute law of well-doing, which means well-being. To think correctly, accurately, we must know the truth. The truth, then, is the underlying principle in every business or social relation. It is a condition preceding every right action. To know the truth, to be sure, to be confident, affords a satisfaction besides which no other is at all comparable. It is the only solid ground in a world of doubt, conflict, and danger. Number 7, to know the truth is to be in harmony with infinite and omnipotent power. To know the truth is therefore to connect yourself with a power which is irresistible and which will sweep every kind of discord, disharmony, doubt, or error, because the truth is mighty and will prevail. Number 8, the humblest intellect can readily foretell the result of any action when he knows that it is based on truth. But the mightiest intellect, most profound and penetrating mind loses its way hopelessly and can form no conception of the results which may ensue, when his hopes are based on a premise which he knows to be false. Number 9. Every action which is not in harmony with truth, whether through ignorance or design, will result in discord and eventual loss in proportion to its extent and character. Number 10. How then are we to know the truth in order to attach this mechanism which will relate us to the infinite? Number 11. We can make no mistake about this if we realize that truth is the vital principle of the universal mind and is omnipresent. For instance, if you require health, a realization of the fact that the I in you is spiritual and that all spirit is one, that whatever a part is the whole must be, will bring about a condition of health, because every cell in the body must manifest the truth as you see it. If you see sickness, they will manifest sickness. If you see perfection, they must manifest perfection. The affirmation, I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy, will bring about harmonious conditions. The reason for this is because the affirmation is in strict accordance with the truth. And when truth appears, every form of error or discord must necessarily disappear. Number 12. You have found that the I is spiritual. It must necessarily then always be no less than perfect. The affirmation, I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy, is therefore an exact scientific statement. Number 13. Thought is a spiritual activity, and spirit is creative. Therefore, the result of holding this thought in mind must necessarily bring about conditions in harmony with the thought. Number 14. If you require wealth, a realization of the fact that the I in you is one with the universal mind, which is all substance and is omnipotent, will assist you in bringing into operation the law of attraction, which will bring you into vibration with those forces which make for success and bring about conditions of power and influence in direct proportion to the character and purpose of your affirmation. Number 15. Visualization is the mechanism of the attachment which you require. Visualization is a very different process from seeing. Seeing is physical and is therefore related to the objective world, the world without. But visualization is a product of the imagination and is therefore a product of the subjective mind, the world within. It therefore possesses vitality. It will grow. The thing visualized will manifest itself in form. The mechanism is perfect. It was created by the master architect who doeth all things well. But unfortunately, sometimes the operator is inexperienced or inefficient. But practice and determination will overcome this defect. Number 16. If you require love, try to realize that the only way to get love is by giving it. That the more you give, the more you will get. And the only way in which you can give is to fill yourself with it until you become a magnet. The method was explained in another part. Number 17. He who has learned to bring the greatest spiritual truths into touch with the so-called lesser things of life has discovered the secret of the solution of his problem. One is always quickened, made more thoughtful by his nearest of approach to great ideas, great events, great natural objects, and great men. Lincoln is said to have begotten in all who came near him the feeling awakened when one approaches a mountain, and the sense asserts itself most keenly when one comes to realize that he understands the things that are eternal, including the power of truth. Number 18. It is sometimes Number 18. It is sometimes an inspiration to hear from someone who has actually put these principles to the test, someone who has demonstrated them in his own life. I am day to day in receipt of a letter from Mr. Andrews. He says, quote, Dear friend, you will find my experience published in the March issue of Nautilus, and you are at liberty to make any extracts from or reference to it that may suit your purpose. Sincerely yours, Frederick Andrews, Oddfellows Building, Indianapolis, IND, USA. 19. I was about 13 years old when Dr. T. Marseille, since passed over, said to my mother, "There's no possible chance, Mrs. Andrews. I lost my little boy the same way, after doing everything for him that it was possible to do. I have made a special study of these cases, and I know there's no possible chance for him to get well." 20. She turned to him and said, "Doctor, what would you do if he were your boy?" And he answered, "I would fight, as long as there's breath of life to fight for." Number 21. That was the beginning of a long, drawn-out battle with many ups and downs, the doctors all agreeing that there was no chance for a cure, though they encouraged and cheered us the best they could. Number 22. But at last the victory came, and I have grown from a little crooked, twisted cripple, going about on my hands and knees, to a strong, straight, wealthful man. Number 23. Quote, "Now I know you want the formula, and I will give it to you, as briefly and quickly as I can." Number 24. I built up an affirmation for myself, taking the qualities I most needed, and affirming for myself over and over again, "I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy." I keep up this affirmation, always the same, never varying, till I could wake up in the night and find myself repeating, "I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy." It was the last thing on my lips at night and the first thing in the morning. Number 25. Not only did I affirm for myself, but for others that I knew needed it. I want to emphasize this point. Whatever you desire for yourself, affirm it for others, and it will help you both. We reap what we sow. If we send our thoughts of love and health, they return to us like bread cast upon the waters. But if we send our thoughts of fear, worry, jealousy, anger, hate, etc., we shall reap the results in our own lives. Number 26. It used to be said that man is built completely anew every 7 years. But some scientists now declare that we build ourselves entirely over again every 11 months. So we are really only 11 months old. If we build the defects back into our bodies year after year, we have no one to blame but ourselves. Number 27. Man is the sum total of his own thoughts. So the question is, how are we going to entertain only the good thoughts and reject the evil ones? At first, we can't keep the evil thoughts from coming, but we can't keep from entertaining them. The only way to do this is to forget them, which means get something for them. This is where the ready-made affirmation comes in. Number 28. When I thought of Number 28. When I thought of anger, jealousy, fear, or worry creeps in, just start your affirmation going. The way to fight darkness is with light. The only way to fight cold is with heat. The way to overcome evil is with good. For myself, I never could find any help in denials. Affirm the good, and the bad will vanish. Frederick Andrews. Number 29. If there is anything you require, it will be well for you to make use of this affirmation. It cannot be improved upon. Use it just as it is. Take it into the silence with you until it sinks into your subconscious, so that you can use it anywhere. In your car, on the tram, in the office, at home. This is the advantage of spiritual methods. They are always available. Spirit is omnipresent, ever ready. All that is required is a proper recognition of its omnipotence and a willingness or desire to become the recipient of its beneficent effects. Number 30. If our predominant mental attitude is one of power, courage, kindliness, and sympathy, we shall find that our environment will reflect conditions in correspondence with these thoughts. If it is weak, critical, envious, and destructive, we shall find our environment reflecting conditions corresponding to these thoughts. Number 31. Thoughts, causes, and conditions are effects. Herein is the explanation of the origin of both good and evil. Thought is creative, and will automatically correlate with its object. This is cosmological law, the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, the recognition and application of this law will determine both beginning and end. It is the law by which in all ages and in all times the people were led to believe in the power of prayer. And thy faith is so. Be it unto thee is simply another, a shorter, a better way of stating it. Your next exercise is to visualize a plant. Take a flower, the one you most admire, bring it from the unseen into the seen. Plant a tiny seed, water it, care for it, place it where it will get the direct rays of the morning sun. See the seed burst. It is now a living thing, something which is alive and beginning to search for the means of subsistence. See the roots penetrating the earth. Watch them shoot out in all directions, and remember that they are living cells dividing and subdividing, and that they will soon number millions, that each cell is intelligent and it knows what it wants and knows how to get it. See the stem shoot forward and upward. Watch it burst through the surface of the earth. See it divide and form branches. See how perfect and symmetrical each branch is formed. See the leaves begin to form them, the tiny stems, each one holding aloft a bud. And as you watch, you see the bud begin to unfold, and your favorite flower comes to view. And now if you will concentrate intently, you will become conscious of a fragrance. It is a fragrance of the flower as the breeze gently sways the beautiful creation which you have visualized. Number 33. When you are unable to make your vision clear and complete, you will be unable to enter into the spirit of the thing. It will become very real to you. You will be learning to concentrate, and the process is the same. Whether you are concentrating on health, a favorite flower, an ideal, a complicated business proposition, or any other problem of life. Number 34. When you are enabled to make your vision clear and complete, you will be enabled to enter into the spirit of the thing. It will become very real to you. You'll be learning to concentrate, and the process is the same. Whether you are concentrating on health, a favorite flower, an ideal, a complicated business proposition, or any other problem of life. Every success has been accomplished by persistent concentration upon the object in view. In the end, thought rules the world. There are times when impulses and passions are most powerful, but they soon expend themselves while mind acting constantly is ever ready to drive them back and work when their energy is exhausted. J. McIntosh. Part 9. What is the imperative condition of all well-being, well-doing? That is answer well-doing. Number 82. What is the condition preceding every right action? Answer right thinking. Number 83. What is the underlying condition necessary in every business transaction on social relation? Answer to know the truth. Number 84. What is the result of a knowledge of the truth? Answer, we can readily foretell the result of any action that is based upon a true premise. Number 85. What is the result of any action based upon a false premise? Answer, we can form no conception of the result which may ensue. Number 86. How may we know the truth? By a realization that the fact that truth is by a realization of the fact that truth is the vital principle of the universe and is therefore omnipresent. Number 87. What is the nature of truth? It is spiritual. Number 88. What is the secret of the solution to every problem? Answer, to apply spiritual truth. Number 89. What is the advantage of spiritual methods? Answer, they are always available. 90. What are the necessary requirements? A recognition of the omnipotence and spiritual power and a desire to become the recipient of its beneficent effects. Thought means life, since those who do not think do not live in any high or real sense. Thinking makes the man. A.B. Elcott. Part 10. This part tells of the law of abundance. It shows that nature has provided an abundance for all, and while some seem to be separated from the supply, it tells of a connecting link between the individual and the supply. It explains the law of attraction, the law by which your own is brought to you. It tells why every experience in life is a result of this law. It tells why and how you attract the things to you which make up the sum total of your existence. It tells how you may place yourself in harmony with the law and thereby assist in bringing about desirable conditions in your health, environment, or finances. It shows that this law of attraction is fundamental and eternal, and that there is no escape from the result of its operation. A knowledge of this law is absolutely essential to those desiring to make permanent progress. If you get a thorough understanding of the thought contained in Part 10, you will have learned that nothing happens without a definite cause. You will be enabled to formulate your plans in accordance with your knowledge. You will know how to control any situation by bringing adequate thoughts into play. When you win as you will know exactly why. The ordinary man who has no definite knowledge of cause and effect is governed by his feelings or emotions. He thinks chiefly to justify his action. If he fails as a businessman, he says that luck is against him. If he dislikes music, he says that music is an expensive luxury. If he is a poor clerk, he says that he could succeed better at some outdoor work. If he lacks friend, he says his individuality is too fine to be appreciated. Number 95. He never thinks. Page number 95. He never thinks this problem through to the end. In short, he does not know that every effect is a result of a certain definite cause, but he seeks to console himself with explanations and excuses. He thinks only in self-defense. On the contrary, the man who understands that there is no effect without an adequate cause thinks impersonally. He gets down to absolute facts regardless of consequences. He is free to follow the path of truth, wherever it may lead. He sees the issue clear to the end, and he meets requirements fully and freely. And the result is that the world gives him all that he has to give, in friendship, honor, love, and approval. Number 1. Abundance is a natural law of the universe. The evidence of this law is conclusive. We see it on every hand. Everywhere nature is lavish, wasteful, extravagant. Nowhere is economy observed in any created thing. Profusion is manifested in everything. The millions and millions of trees and flowers and plants and animals, and the vast scheme of reproduction, where the process of creating and recreating is forever going on, all indicate the lavishness with which nature has made provision for man. That there is an abundance for everyone is evident, but that many fail to participate in this abundance is also evident. They have not yet come into a realization of the universality of all substance, and that mind is the active principle whereby we are related to the things we desire. Number 2. Wealth is the offspring of power. Possessions are of value only as they confer power. Events are significant only as they affect power. All things represent certain forms and degrees of power. Number 3. Knowledge of cause and effect, as shown by the laws governing electricity, chemical affinity, and gravitation, enables man to plan courageously and execute fearlessly. These laws are called natural laws because they govern in the physical world, but all power is not physical power. There is also mental power, and there is moral and spiritual power. Number 4. Spiritual power is superior because it exists on a higher plane. It has enabled man to discover the law by which these wonderful forces of nature can be harnessed and made to do the work of hundreds and thousands of men. It has enabled man to discover laws whereby time and space have been annihilated, and now apparently The law of gravitation is to be overcome. The operation of this law is dependent upon spiritual contact. As Henry Drummond well says, in the physical world, as we know it, there exists the organic and the inorganic. The inorganic are the mineral world, or the mineral world is absolutely cut off from the plant or animal world. The passage is hermetically sealed. The barriers have never yet been crossed. No change of substance, no modification of environment, no chemistry, no electricity, no form of energy, no evolution of any kind can ever endow a single atom of the mineral world with the attribute of life. Number 6. Only by the bending down into this dead world of some living form can those dead atoms be gifted with the properties of vitality. Without this contact with life, they remain fixed in the inorganic sphere forever. Huxley says that the doctrine of biogenesis, or life only from life, is victorious all along the line. And Tyndall is compelled to say, I affirm that no shred of trustworthy evidence exists to prove that life in our day has ever appeared independent of antecedent life. Number 7. Physical laws may explain the inorganic. Biology explains and accounts for the development of the organic. But of the point of contact, science is silent. A similar passage exists between the natural world and the spiritual world. This passage is hermetically sealed on the natural side. The door is closed. No man can open it. No organic change, no mental energy, no moral effort, no progress of any kind can enable any human being to enter the spiritual world. Number 8. But as a plant reaches down into the mineral world and touches it with the mystery of life, so the universal mind reaches down into the human mind and endows it with new, strange, wonderful, and even marvelous qualities. All men or women who have ever accomplished anything in the world of industry, commerce, or art have accomplished it because of this process. Thought is the connecting link between the infinite and the finite, between the universal and the individual. We have seen that there is an impassable barrier between the organic and the inorganic, and that the only way that matter can unfold is to be impregnated with life. As a seed reaches down into the mineral world and begins to unfold and reach out, the dead matter begins to live. 1,000 invisible fingers begin to weave a suitable environment for the new arrival. And as the law of growth begins to take effect, we see the process continue until the lily finally appears, and even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these 10. Even so, a thought is dropped into the invisible substance of the universal mind, that substance from which all things are created. And as it takes root, the law of growth begins to take effect, and we find that conditions and environment are but the objective form of our thought. Number 11. The law is that thought is an active, vital form of dynamic energy which has the power to correlate with its object and bring it out of the invisible substance from which all things are created into the visible or objective world. This is the law by which and throughout which all things come into manifestation. It is the master key by which you are admitted into the secret place of the Most High and are given dominion over all things. With an understanding of this law, you may decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. Number 12. It could not be otherwise. If the soul of the universe, as we know it, is the universal spirit, then the universe is simply the condition which the universal spirit has made for itself. We are simply individualized spirit and are creating the conditions for our growth in exactly the same way. Number 13. This creative power depends upon our recognition of the potential power of spirit or mind and must not be confused with evolution. Creation is the calling into existence of that which does not exist in the objective world. Evolution is simply the unfolding of potentialities involved in things which already exist. Number 14. In taking advantage of this wonderful in taking advantage of the wonderful possibilities opened up to us through the operation of this law, we must remember that we ourselves contribute nothing to its efficacy. As a great teacher said, "It is not I that doeth. It is not I that doeth the work, but the Father that dwelleth in me. He doeth the works." We must take exactly the same position. We can do nothing to assist in the manifestation. We simply comply with the law, and the all-originating mind will bring about the result. Number 15. The great error of the present day is the idea that man has to originate the intelligence whereby the infinite can proceed to bring about a specific purpose or result. Nothing of this kind is necessary. The universal mind can be depended upon to find the ways and means for bringing about any necessary manifestation. We must, however, create the ideal, and this ideal should be perfect. By the way, we are on page 98. We know that the laws governing electricity have been formulated in such a way that this invisible power can be controlled and used for our benefit and comfort in thousands of ways. We know that messages are carried around the world, that ponderous machinery does its bidding, that now illuminates practically the whole world. But we know too that if we consciously or ignorantly violate its law by touching a live wire when it is not properly insulated, the result will be unpleasant and possibly disastrous. A lack of understanding of the laws governing the visible world has the same result, and many are suffering the consequences all the time. Number 17. It has been explained that the law of causation depends upon polarity. A circuit must be formed. The circuit cannot be formed unless we operate in harmony with the law. How shall we operate in harmony with the law unless we know what the law is? How shall we know what the law is? By study, by observation. Number 18. We see the law in operation everywhere. All nature testifies to the operation of the law by silently, constantly expressing itself in the law of growth. Where there is growth, there must be life. Where there is life, there must be harmony. So that everything that has life is constantly attracting to itself the conditions and the supply which are necessary for its most complete expression. Number 19. If your thought is in harmony with the creative principle of nature, it is in tune with the infinite mind, and it will form the circuit. It will not return to you void, but it is possible for you to think thoughts that are not in tune with the infinite. And there is no polarity. The circuit is not formed. What then is the result? What is the result when a dynamo is generating electricity? The circuit is cut off and there is no outlet. The dynamo stops. Number 20. It will be exactly the same with you. If you entertain thoughts which are not in accordance with the infinite and cannot therefore be polarized, there is no circuit. You are isolated. The thoughts cling to you, harass you, worry you, and finally bring about disease and possible death. The physician may not diagnose the case exactly in this way. He may give it some fancy name which has been manufactured for the various ills which are the result of wrong thinking, but the cause is the same nevertheless. Number 21. Constructive thoughts must necessarily be creative, but creative thought must be harmonious. And this eliminates all destructive or competitive thought. Wisdom, strength, courage, and all harmonious conditions are the result of power. And we have seen that all power is from within. Likewise, every lack, limitation, or adverse circumstance is the result of weakness, and weakness is simply absence of power. It comes from nowhere. It is nothing. The remedy, then, is simply to develop power. And this is accomplished in exactly the same manner that all power is developed, by exercise. Number 23. This exercise consists in making an application of your knowledge. Knowledge will not apply itself. You must make the application. Abundance will not come to you out of the sky, neither will it drop into your lap, but a conscious realization of the law of attraction and the intention to bring it into operation for a certain, definite, and specific purpose, and the will to carry out this purpose will bring about the materialization of your desire by a natural law of transference. If you are in business, it will increase and develop along regular channels. Possibly new or unusual channels of distribution will be opened, and when the law becomes fully operative, you'll find that these things you seek are seeking you. Number 24. For your next exercise, select a blank space on the wall or any other convenient spot from where you usually sit. Mentally draw a black horizontal line about 6 inches long. Try to see the line as plainly as though it were painted on the wall. Now mentally draw 2 vertical lines connecting with this horizontal line at either end. Now draw another horizontal line connecting with the 2 vertical lines. Now you have a square. Try to see the square perfectly. When you can do so, draw a circle within the square. Now place a point in the center of the circle. Now draw the point towards you about 10 inches. Now you have a cone on a square base. You will remember that your work was all in black. Change it to white, to red, to yellow. If you can do this, you are making excellent progress. Number 25, if you can do this, you are making excellent progress and will soon be enabled to concentrate on any problem you have in mind. When any objective or purpose is clearly held in thought, its precipitation is tangible and visible. I'll repeat that. When any object or purpose is clearly held in thought, its precipitation in tangible and visible form is merely a question of time. The vision always precedes and itself determines the realization. Lillian Whiting. Page number 100, part 2. What is wealth? Answer. Wealth is the offspring of power. That was 91, by the way. 92. Of what value are possessions? Possessions are of value only as they confer power. 93. Of what value is knowledge of cause and effect? Answer. It enables men to plan courageously and execute fearlessly. 94. How does life originate in the inorganic world? Answer. Only by the introduction of some living form. There is no other way. What is the connecting link between the finite and the infinite? Thought is a connecting link. Why is that so? Which is number 96. Because the universal can manifest only through the individual. 97. Upon what does causation depend? Answer. Upon polarity. A circuit must be formed. The universal is the positive side of the battery of life. The individual is the negative, and thought forms the circuit. Number 98. Why do many fail to secure harmonious conditions? Answer. They do not understand the law. There's no polarity. They have not formed the circuit. Number 99. What is the remedy? A continuous recognition of the law of attraction with the intention of bringing it into existence for a definite purpose. Number 100. What will be the result? Answer. Thought will correlate with its object and bring it into manifestation, because thought is a product of the spiritual man, and spirit is the creative principle of the universe. A vivid thought brings the power to paint it, and in proportion to the depths of its source is the force of its projection. Emerson. Part 11, page 101. This part tells of the means by which we have discovered that the infinitely small as well as the infinitely large is in the last analysis nothing but force, motion, life, and mind. It tells of the process by which we have become familiar with the vast organization by which we are identified, with the vast organization by which we are identified. With the complex operations of nature, it gives concise directions for making use of the creative power of the universe, the power by which all things are brought into existence. It shows how this marvelous power may be utilized, directed, and made available for the solution for every human problem. Your life is governed by law, by actual immutable principles that never vary. Law is in operation at all times, in all places. Fixed laws underlie all human actions. For this reason, men who control giant industries are unable to determine with absolute precision just what percentage of every 100,000 people will respond to any given set of conditions. It is well, however, to remember that while every effect is the result of a cause, the effect in turn becomes a cause, which creates other effects, which in turn creates still other causes, that when you put the law of attraction into operation, you must remember that you are stating a train of causation for good or otherwise, which may have endless possibilities. We frequently hear it said, a very distressing situation came into my life, which could not have been the result of any thought, as I certainly never entertained any thought which could have such a result. We fail to remember that like attracts like in the mental world, and that the thought which we entertain brings to us certain friendships, companionships of a particular kind. And these in turn bring about conditions and environment, which in turn are responsible for conditions of which we complain. Number one, inductive reasoning is a process of the objective mind by which we compare a number of separate instances with one another until we see the common factor that gives rise to them all. Number two, induction proceeds by comparison of facts. It is this method of studying nature which has resulted in the discovery of a region of law which has marked an epoch in human progress. Number three, it is a dividing line between superstition and intelligence. It has eliminated the elements of uncertainty and caprice from men's lives and substituted law, reason, and certitude. Number four, it is the watchman at the gate, mentioned in a former part. Number five, when by virtue of the principle the world to which the senses were accustomed has been revolutionized, when the sun has been arrested in his course, the apparently flat earth has been shaped into a ball and starts whirling around him, when the inert matter has been resolved into action elements, and the universe presents itself wherever we direct the telescope and microscope, full of force, motion, and life, we are constrained to ask what possible means the delicate forms of organization in the midst of it are kept in order and repair. Number six, like poles and like forces repel each other or remain impenetrable to each other, and this cause seems in general sufficient to assign a proper place and distance to stars, men, and forces. As men of different virtues enter into partnership, so do opposite poles attract each other. Elements that have no property in common, like acids and gases, cling to each other in preference, and in general exchange is kept up between the surplus and the demand. Number seven, as the eye seeks and receives satisfaction from colors complementary to those which are given, so do need, want, and desire, in the largest sense, induce, guide, and determine action. Number eight, it is our privilege to become conscious of the principle and act in accordance with it. Cuvier said, a tooth belonging to an extinct race of animals. This tooth wants a body for the performance of its function, and it defines the peculiar body it stands in need of with such precision that Cuvier is able to reconstruct the frame of this animal. Page 103, number 9, perturbations. Perturbations are observed in the motions of Uranus. Adams and Leverrier need another star at a certain place to keep the solar system in order, and Neptune appears in the place and at the hour appointed. Number 10. The instinctive wants of the animal and intellectual wants. I'll repeat that. Number 10. The instinctive wants of the animal and the intellectual wants of Cuvier, the wants of nature and the minds of Leverrier and Adams were like, and thus results here the thoughts of an existence, their in existence. A well-defined lawful want, therefore, furnishes the reason for the more complex operations of nature. Number 11. Having recorded correctly the answers furnished by nature and stretched out senses with the growing science over her surface, having joined hands with the levers that move the earth, we become conscious of such a close, varied, and deep contact with the world, without that our wants and purposes become no less identified with the harmonious operations of this vast organization. Then the life, liberty, and happiness of the citizen are identified with the existence of this government. Number 12. As the interests of the individual are protected by the arms of the country, added to his own, and his needs produce certain supply in the degree that they are felt more universally and steadily, in the same manner does conscious citizenship of the kingdom of nature secure us from the annoyances of subordinate agents. By our alliance with superior powers and by our conformity with the fundamental laws of resistance or inducement offered to mechanical or chemical agents, we distribute the labor to be performed between them, and man to the best advantage of inventor and user. Number 11. If Plato could have witnessed the pictures executed by the sun with the assistance of the photographer, or 100 similar illustrations of what man does by induction, he would perhaps have been reminded of the intellectual midwifery of his master, and his own mind might have arisen the vision, and in his own mind might have arisen the vision of land, where all manual mechanical labor and repetition is assigned to the power of nature, where our wants are satisfied by purely mental operations set in motion by the will, and where the supply is created by the demand. Number 14. However distant that land may appear, induction has taught men to make strides towards it, and has surrounded him with benefits which are, at the same time, rewards for past fidelity and incentives for more assiduous devotion. Now we are up to number 15 on page 104. This book is called The MasterKey System. Number 15. Induction is also an aid in concentrating and strengthening our faculties for the remainder of the journey, giving unerring solutions for individual as well as universal problems by the mere operations of mind in the purest form. Number 16. Here we find a method, the spirit of which is to believe that what is sought has been accomplished. In order to accomplish it, it's a method bequeathed us by the same Plato who, outside of his sphere, could never find how the ideas become realities. Number 17. The perception is also elaborated by Swedenborg in his Doctrine of Correspondence. And a still greater teacher has said, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Mark XI 24 AV. The differences of the tenses in this passage are remarkable. Number 18. We are first to believe that our desire has already been fulfilled. Its accomplishment will then follow. This is a concise direction for making use of the creative power of thought by impressing on the universal, subjective mind the particular thing which we desire as an already existing fact. Number 19. We are thus thinking on the plane of the absolute and eliminating all consideration of conditions or limitation, and are planting a seed which, if left undisturbed, will finally germinate into external fruition. Number 20. To review inductive reasoning is the process of the objective mind by which we compare a number of separate instances with one another until we see the common factor that gives rise to them all. We see people in every civilized country on the globe securing results by some process which they do not seem to understand themselves, and to which they usually attach more or less mystery. Our reason is given to us for the purpose of ascertaining the law by which these results are accomplished. Number 21. The operations of this thought process is seen in those fortunate natures that possess everything that others must acquire by toil, who never have a struggle with conscience, because they always act correctly and can never comport themselves. Otherwise, then, with tact, learn everything easily, complete everything they begin with, a happy knack, live in eternal harmony with themselves without ever reflecting much what they do or ever experiencing difficulty or toil. Number 22. The fruit of this thought is, as it were, a gift of the gods, but a gift which few as yet realize, appreciate, or understand. The recognition of the marvelous power which is possessed by the mind under proper conditions, and the fact that this power can be utilized, directed, and made available for the solution of every human problem is of transcendental importance. Number 23. All truth is the same, whether stated in modern scientific terms or in the language of apostolic times. There are timid souls who fail to realize that the very completeness of truth requires various statement, that no one human formula will show every side of it. Number 24. Changed emphasis, new language, novel interpretations, unfamiliar perspectives are not as some suppose signs of departure from truth, but on the contrary, they are evidence that the truth is being apprehended in new relations to human needs and is becoming more generally understood. The truth must be told to each generation and to every people in new and different terms, so that when the great teacher said, "Believe that ye receive, and ye shall receive," or when Paul said, "Faith is the evidence of things not seen," or when modern science says, "The law of attraction is a law by which thought correlates with its object," each statement, when subjected to analysis, is found to contain exactly the same truth. The only difference is in the form of presentation. Number 26. We are standing on the threshold of a new era. The time has arrived when man has learned the secrets of mastery, and the way is being prepared for a new social order, more wonderful than anything ever heretofore dreamed of. The conflict of modern science with theology, the study of comparative religions, the tremendous power of new social movements, all of these are but clearing the way for the new order. They may have destroyed traditional forms which have become antiquated and impotent, but nothing of value has been lost. Number 27. A new faith has been born, a faith which demands new form of expression, and this faith is taking form in a deep consciousness of power which is being manifested in the present spiritual activity founded on every hand. Number 28. The spirit which sleeps in the mineral, breathes in the vegetable, moves in the animal, and reaches its highest development in man is the universal mind, and it behooves us to span the gulf between being and doing, theory and practice, by demonstrating our understanding of the dominion which we have been given. Sorry. 29. By far, the greatest discovery of all the centuries is the power of thought. The importance of this discovery has been a little slow in reaching the general consciousness, but it has arrived, and already in every field of research, The importance of this greatest of all great discoveries is being demonstrated. Number 30. You ask, in what does the creative power of thought consist? It consists in creative ideas, and these in turn objectify themselves by appropriating, inventing, observing, discerning, discovering, analyzing, ruling, governing, combining, and applying matter and force. It can do this because it is an intelligent creative power. Number 31. Thought reaches its loftiest activity when plunged into its own mysterious depth, when it breaks through the narrow compass of self and passes from truth to the region of eternal light, where all which is, was, or ever will be melts into one grand harmony. Number 32. From this process of self-contemplation comes inspiration, which is creative intelligence, and which is undeniably superior to every element, force, or law of nature, because it can understand, modify, govern, and apply them to its own ends and purposes, and therefore possess them. Number 33. Wisdom begins with the dawn of reason. And reason is but an understanding of the knowledge and principles whereby we may know the truth meaning of things. Wisdom then is illuminated reason, and this wisdom leads to humility. For humility is a large part of wisdom. Number 34. We all know many who have achieved the seemingly impossible, who have realized lifelong dreams, who have changed everything, including themselves. We have sometimes marveled at the demonstration of an apparently irresistible power, which seemed to be ever available just when it was most needed. But it is all clear now. All that is required is an understanding of certain definite fundamental principles and the proper application. For your next number 35. For your next exercise, concentrate on the quotation taken from the Bible. Quote, what things soever ye desire when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. End quote. Notice that there is no limitation. What things soever is very definite and implies that the only limitation which is placed upon us is in our ability to think, to be equal to the equation, to rise to the emergency, to remember that faith is not a shadow, but a substance, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Part 11. What is inductive reasoning? It is a process of the objective mind by which we compare a number of separate instances with each other until we see the common factor which gives rise to them all. 102. What has this method of studying accomplished? It has resulted in the discovery of a region of law which has marked an epoch in human progress. 103. What is it that guides and determines action? Answer: it is need, want, and desire, which in the larger sense induce, guide, and determine action. 104. What is the formula for the unerring solution of every individual problem? Answer: we are to believe that our desire has already been fulfilled. Its accomplishment will then follow. What great teachers advanced it? Jesus, Plato, Swedenborg. 106. What is the result of the operation of this thought process? We are thinking on the plane of the absolutes and planting a seed which, if left undisturbed, will germinate into fruition. 107. Why is it scientifically exact? Because it is natural law. Number 108. What is faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. 109. What is the law of attraction? Answer: the law by which faith is brought into manifestation. Page 108, number 110. What importance do you attach to understanding of this law? It has eliminated the elements of uncertainty and caprice from men's lives and substituted law, reason, and certitude. Death is but a natural process whereby all material forms are thrown into the crucible for reproduction in fresh diversity. Amen. Part 12. page 109. Please do leave your feedback. I look forward to seeing your feedback. And thank you for those who have already shared your feedback. I much appreciate it. And please subscribe if you haven't already. It is much appreciated. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to read this book with me. Part 12. This part tells of numerous counterfeits and perversions by which many are led to think that something can be had for nothing. There is no royal road to success. We must give before we can get. If we cannot give money, we must give service. We must give time and thought. The law of compensation demands an eye for an eye. It tells how we may create the implements by which we may put into operation the laws by which we can gain access to the unlimited resources of nature. I'm going to actually carry on my next video. I'm going to take a break and come back on another video. We're on page 109, part 12. We'll come back in another video. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to watch, to read this amazing book, Law of Attraction, the source of growth and accomplishment. I appreciate your time. Have a lovely day. I'll be in touch on the next video. Page 109, part 12.